Hello and welcome to Rolltale. I'm Sebastian. Here at Rolltale, I stream my Dungeons & Dragons game, Tales of Yield Interest, every Tuesday, and post other Dungeons & Dragons content kind of irregularly. Makes no sense how this schedule works. But be sure to like and subscribe to not miss anything. But to get to the point of the video, today I'm going to be stress testing the new Kickstarter RPG Stories. They recently came out with their world builder, which I definitely recommend checking out. It's free on Steam right now. You can find a link to their Steam page in the description, and you can find a link to their Kickstarter in the description as well. Full disclosure, I am not sponsored by RPG Stories. However, I'm personally just very excited about RPG Stories, the concept of it, what it could amount to be. And I also have received a free VIP copy of RPG Stories, not as a gift, not as a payment, but I just simply won it through a raffle. So, not being sponsored, but I feel like it's only fair that I fully disclose any biases I might have. Now, you might be wondering why I'm opened in Dungeon Alchemist, because this is definitely not RPG Stories. Well, today I'm going to be stress testing RPG Stories to see if I can recreate to some extent my most intense map that I've made for Dungeons & Dragons. As you can see, it's really choppy. This is on, I think, high settings, so I could lower it to low or medium settings and it wouldn't be quite so bad. But the map is just gigantic, and I want to see if RPG Stories could handle something of this scale. And plus, RPG Stories doesn't really have anything for terrain manipulation for the most part, so I figure it would also be a good opportunity to kind of like test out how wide I can make a map, considering this map doesn't really have any hills or anything going on. I will give you a quick tour real quick before I start trying to recreate this in RPG Stories. It's still in very early alpha testing, by the way, so we will have to give RPG Stories a little bit of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to how much it'll be able to recreate of this particular map. But if it can get close and perform similarly, I will be impressed. I'll be very impressed if it can handle all this going on one map. But anyhow, first you see that there's a marketplace down here. There's a little bakery, blacksmith, there's a jail. There is a library, which has a hidden torture room, because I'm obsessed with making mini plot lines that my players will never discover. Got this little island, which I don't know what I plan to do with, but got a few little farmsteads, little apartments, got some nicer apartments, got a tavern, there's a brothel here, there's a decent-sized house over here, stable, park, big house. I guess it's a manor, maybe? If I was able to do multiple floors, it would definitely be more convincing as a manor. A few high-end apartments, a higher-end market square that also has a restaurant, a bakery, and also another tavern up here in kind of the uptown, nicer area. There is a school as well. And there's also a little church down here, which I often tend to put a bunch of cultists in because I find it very interesting just to see cultists move in and occupy a space for my players just encounter. There's also a big graveyard and a little chapel. But yeah, I'm gonna see if RPG Stories can create something similar. I don't think I'll be able to get a 1-to-1 ratio, especially because the scaling in RPG Stories is quite a lot different than Dungeon Alchemist. At least by default, it kind of seems that way. It doesn't seem like the objects are scaled quite the same way. So I think making a 1-for-1 ratio is going to be kind of difficult, but we'll see how it goes. Anyhow, without further ado, let's try to start making this on Dungeon Alchemist. Not Dungeon Alchemist. Shit. RPG Stories. Sorry. Let's try to make this same map on RPG Stories. anyhow, I spent a while working on this map, the Venengrave map. I don't have everything I really would have wanted to get done just because there's a few assets that I really rely on for this build. Like, as you might notice that there's no church down here. I kind of just didn't feel like making it, I guess. But maybe there'll be something I finish in the future. It's not as finished as I would like it to be. But it's a very early version of the build, so I think what I accomplished with the assets that we have is quite impressive. It's not as detailed as I'd like, as I'd mentioned before, but let's actually check it out now that we actually got it done. And it's running a lot better than you would expect it to be, considering how many assets there are. 1 second, let me make it daytime. Cold noon? No, let's just stick with the standard. There we go. So this is Venengrave just for now. There's more stuff I would like to get done, as I mentioned. But zooming in, I got this little dock area kind of thing. I don't really have this done super well on my reference map, so that's not really too much of anything I focused on. Down here, I got the marketplace area pretty spot on for the most part. I've got the little market stalls. I've got the library down here. This little back alleyway. I've got, as best as I could, I've got the bakery done down here. And I've got the, I don't remember what this is. Blacksmith. This is the blacksmith in their house. Got that done. And got the jail kind of sorted out with the barracks. In my Dungeon Alchemist map, I have every building like kind of made to be entered, but considering I didn't want like a bunch of buildings to look exactly the same, I decided against doing that this time. And instead, I just made everything be like certain things be made of just these general assets, which I think work really well in fleshing out the space. Moving on, we've got this little chapel area here. We've got the graveyard. We've got the park. That all turned out really well. Now, these two little apartments down here, I kind of struggled with a little bit because they don't have diagonal walls at the moment. And this is kind of the only way to make walls of a certain, rooms of a certain size, is to use these little assets, which is helpful. I just wish they had these assets for everything. But that wound up looking pretty good. Got this tavern done down here, which worked out for the most part. I wound up making the rooms a little bit nicer, a little bit bigger. It's got bathrooms. For here we got the brothel, which the space filled out well enough. Let's see, and if you move this way, you wind up getting to the school. I finished the school today, actually. Got the bathrooms, got different classrooms. We've got this little lab area. Got some dorms. It's really basic. There's not as many decorations as, like, there probably should be, but I wound up getting a little bit lazy around the end. I thought that looked really good. There's a nicer tavern up here. And then there's, like, in my reference map, there's like a bunch of kind of higher end manors in this area, but right now there are no assets really to make a proper manor. So until that happens, I'm just gonna leave it kind of filled in with this kind of asset for now. Yeah, everything actually, it wound up looking pretty good, I think. I don't think anyone has made a map this big yet using this, and once again, this is a very early version of the build. So yeah, I really liked it. Building with it was nice for the most part. There was a couple UI issues I ran into, but I'll kind of go over that in a separate video, the pros and cons of RPG stories. Right now, I highly recommend it. As is, you could accomplish so much with just the world building tools. I will be doing a thorough review video that'll be coming out soon, but this is just me stress testing it. And I'm just using a 1050 Ti, and it is handling everything surprisingly well. Now that I have so many assets, the only thing I've noticed is sometimes the camera is just a little bit finicky. I can't get it to replicate what I was doing earlier, but sometimes it would like zoom in really hard without really almost any input. But yeah, it's running really well. So, in case you do want to check out this for yourself, you can look up RPG Stories on Steam, and you can get access to the World Building Alpha. It's going on for 2 weeks. I think it's been out for about a week now, so you really got to act fast if you want to give it a try. You can also back them on Kickstarter. I highly recommend that because they're getting really close to one of their stretch goals, so I'm going to put a link for their Kickstarter in the description as well. But yeah, overall, very enjoyable experience building with it. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. Until then,